I'm really excited when I looked at the rundown about our next speaker, because I find her story incredibly inspiring. So this talk is based on the ingredients for international success. As an 18-year-old university student, Carolyn Creswell purchased a tiny muesli business for $1,000. 25 years on, Carolyn has grown Carman's to become the #1 selling muesli brand on Australian supermarket shelves, and now exports her wholesome breakfast range and nutritional snacks to 32 countries worldwide. Pretty incredible. Carolyn's approach to running Carman's has achieved recognition across a number of awards, including the 2012 Telstra Businesswoman of the Year. And Carolyn's business success has also seen her move into the public eye, appearing as a judge on Channel 10's Recipe to Riches and being nominated for Logie's Best New Talent. Today, she not only runs Carman's, but also sits on the board of the Human Rights Law Centre. She is an ambassador for the Asylum Seekers Resource Centre and the Australian Childhood Foundation. And she's also a patron of the St Kilda Gatehouse. All the while, Carolyn somehow raises 4 children under 14 with her husband Peter. She's an inspirational leader whose success proves that you can run a multinational business and still have a genuine work-life balance. I cannot wait to hear how she does all of this. Please join me in welcoming Carolyn Creswell.
So that's officially what it feels like to be at my funeral. So thanks, guys. It's an absolute honour to be here. And, you know, you're probably thinking, why did they get the muesli maker to come and talk to us? But I hope that you'll quickly see that we all have a story. And this one's mine, and there'll be hopefully lots of little learnings that might help you in your day-to-day lives. So strap on your seatbelts for the next half hour. I've got a lot to share. So for me, I was someone that my parents worked very hard for my education, but then it gave me no pocket money. So I had lots of part-time jobs. This was my first one, selling lemonade on the front lawn. I progressed to the first underage job you could ever do, being a babysitter. I went for the exam to become a Coles checkout operator the very day I could sit it, and I got a position up at my local store. I was a professional gift wrapper at a place called Henry Bucks for a few Christmas seasons. Worked in a video store when we used to actually have video stores and go to video stores. An English tutor, a waitress, events like this. This was over a period of time, guys, not all just in 1 week. But when I finished school, I was doing arts at Monash University with the extensive 16 contact hours a week, and the people that I babysat for said, would I like to come and make muesli? And I could sort of fit that into my crazy schedule, and so I said, sure, I can do that on a Tuesday. So they hired me, and they hired the other lady there, Munya, and that's what we did every Tuesday. And if you look out that back window, there was a little cafe, and they used to have cappuccinos there and sort of looking at us, and we were sort of like monkeys at the zoo, because all the shoppers in the supermarket would go around and they'd peer into this little bakery, which normally was baking bread at night, so it was empty during the day, and they'd watch us making muesli. And after about 6 months, the people that owned this little business said that they had decided they were going to sell it, and whoever bought the business might want to keep us working there, but they wanted to do the honourable thing and let us know that we're probably about to lose our jobs. So we thought about it and thought, well, hang on, we're already the ones in here making it. Why couldn't we buy this little business? And I think this is the first kind of nugget, or the thing for me, is about opportunity recognition. How do you actually see the opportunities when they come your way? You do not have to act on them, but the first thing, people always ask, well, what made you possibly think you could buy that business? And I guess that's just something that has been innate in me, of thinking, well, why not? So we made an offer of $1,000 each, and they laughed at us because they said they wanted $10,000. So they progressively sent other people into this little business, and we would put them on we'd shut that back window and we'd put them on the harder job, which was what my partner was doing, putting trays in and out of the oven, and they'd be stinking hot in there and get little scalds up their arms. And by the end of the day, they'd say, oh, this is a lot harder than we thought. And we're like, yeah, we know. And then they'd leave and say, look, we're not going to pursue it. And we'd go, yes, another one down. And so that went for about 3 months. And then eventually they just said, all right then, it's yours. So that's how Carman's was born. It's the first 3 letters of my name, Carolyn, and the first 3 letters of my partner at the time, name's Manya. And that was in the day when I literally wrote the contract to buy the company on my uni laptop. And I guess when we started, it was just a cellophane bag with a little handwritten tag that we used to get printed down a quick copy. And as time went on, we sort of had a few evolutions. So we moved to these orange bags. We would, this is the first look of what Carman sort of looks like today, doing stand-up pouches. And then after 2 years, my business partner said to me, do you know what? I want to know what time I start in the morning, what time I finish at night, and how much money I'm going to earn. And I remember at the time I was 18, she was 45. Anyway, so we were 2 years into the journey, but she said, look, you know, for me, you know, it was hard. She had 2 young kids. And I said, well, we know when we start, but we just have to keep going until we've finished the batch for the day. And we also, you know, sometimes the insurance bill came in and we'd have to pay that. And, you know, we couldn't always know how much money that we're ever going to take home. So at that point, very begrudgingly, because I still love her and I loved her very much. And so I bought her share of the business out. So for the next 23 years, Carman's is solely owned by me, and I promise you my husband is not sitting in the director's chair in the office, and that's sometimes had, you know, lots of challenges because you're out there on your own, and I know there's a lot of small business operators here, so I'll kind of I'll go through some of those challenges coming up. So for me, the big game changer when you're selling food is to try and get into one of the big supermarkets. So I kept on applying and writing letters, and one time they just wrote no and circled it and sent it back. And I'd always go, well, it's just no for now. It's not no forever. Well, what do I need to do? They'd say, well, you need to get a barcode. I'm like, all right then, I'll work that out. And I'd go off and I'd find out, how do you have to get a barcode? Or you have to get a nutritional panel. So I'd ask someone. So eventually I kept plugging away, and one day I had this appointment up there, and I got up there super early, not realising that that was a very bad strategy, because I did about 7 nervous wheeze, waiting eventually for this buyer to see me, and did my little presentation, and he said, oh, all right then, I'll just give you 20 stores, deliver it in yourself, and let's see how it goes. So I would take my Daewoo hatchback to the behind the Linfox semi-trailers, and I'd just deliver the 1 carton, and they would, you know, sort of laugh, and I'd park the car, run around the front of the store, run back down, get it, run back up to the store manager and say, oh, I've got your Carman's delivery, and that's how, look, Kellogg's won't notice they were supposed to have the end of the aisle. So I'd get these lovely sort of shelf positions like this that are worth like tens of thousands of dollars. And then I'd leave little samples in the tea room as I left saying, I used to be on the checkout, but now I've got a product on the shelf. Can you eat this? And if you like it and you see anyone buying muesli, like tell them how good the Carman's one is. My mum, and she still almost does it to this day, but she would waft around the muesli section in her local Coles, just waiting for anyone to remotely show interest in muesli. And then she'd go, oh my God, my husband hasn't stopped going on about it since I've started buying Carman's for him. So, true story. Here is my lovely dad and mates, and I'd get them to come. This was at breakfast around the town across the road, where they'd come and work for free, giving out bowls of muesli. I did as much PR as I ever could, you know, sending my little media release into the local papers, and still trying to do that. This was my my really like power jacket, you know. Red. I'd read that red was really powerful. It was good for negotiating with a gold button. So whenever you saw that and way too much fake tan, that was when I was really, you know, trying my hardest. Doing trade shows, and Mum said, well, no, we've really made it the year that we don't build the stand ourselves with stuff from Bunnings. And boom, that was the year. That was like literally like Donald Trump walking in, and we actually ended up winning Best Stand. And it's not because of money. It's because of the passion and the attention to detail. And anyone who knows me would know my attention to detail. I'm building a new head office at the moment, and every tile and everything, I just want to really make sure that we do things, we execute very well. So our overnight success is 25 years old. And I do get frustrated when people kind of think that this has just miraculously happened, and that they think that it's been a little bit like this graph on the left. And I challenge that it's been far more like the graph on the right, and it continually is every day. But you just always hope you're going 2 steps forward for the 1 step back, and that you can keep moving ahead. So now someone in the world buys a Carman's product every 2 seconds. And I never imagined it would ever be as big as it is today. But I've always been driven by how good can we be? How good can our products be? How good can we execute? And we often just laugh, going, we're just this little, but it's 35 people out in an office in Cheltenham, and we have kind of this enormous punch of a very sort of strong FMCG brand for just a group of really dedicated people who love what they do. So for those that don't sort of know the Carman's range, we do mueslis, we have clusters, we have a range of porridge and oats, but really the engine of our business has been in snacking lately, so in different sorts of muesli bars. We've got samples for you all to take home on the table. There will be a security guard. No one is allowed to leave the room unless you pop that in your handbag. Oat slices, protein bars, crackers, bliss balls. We do lots of stuff in food service as well, so providing venues, petrol stations, and a lot of work with the airlines. So that's been great for our sort of brand positioning, that people will eat our product on the aeroplane and then hopefully come back. We know for a period of time 7% of our new customers came because they'd eaten Carman's on a plane, and we get paid for that. So, it's a wonderful way of getting our brand out there to a bigger market. So lots of different airlines that we now supply to. And we try very hard, particularly in our export markets, to push very hard into new airlines. Like, we're very excited with our new contract with Qatar. So some of our customers, and I guess I always try and work backwards for what are my customers' needs and what do they need to achieve. It's not just going in and saying this is what we do. And I think you really do have to be very customer focused, and I'll talk a lot about that in my sort of learnings later on. So for us, we've been exporting now for probably 15 years. We export to lots of countries, but our push and our energy into China is beyond an enormous focus. I've just taken, probably 2 years, I spent an enormous amount of money finding the best distributor for us, someone that would really be able to make Carman's bigger in China than it is in Australia, and that's our aim, that we think we can be bigger there in the next 5 years. I think we could do it in 3, but it's really, really exciting. So we're already over 1,100 outlets there. We're having some great traction, and it's just super exciting to go in and see our products on the shelves there. So this is our little office. As I said, we're in the process of moving at the moment. But when I started, for the first few years, I was completely broke. I was having my brother siphon petrol out of my mum's car when she wasn't looking, until he got a mouthful of petrol one day and said, "I'm not doing that anymore, sister." And I totally know what it feels like to be really broke. And for anyone that's ever been through that real drama of thinking, how am I going to pay the bills? What am I going to do? It's exhausting. And that went on for years for me. So for me now, I've really always tried to put myself in a position where I can feel secure financially, so I'll save up and I'll try and we don't have a particularly, flash office there, but it was something that I saved up for ages to be able to buy something that was ours. And it's so exciting now that, the real estate agent, says, "Oh, well, if you want to sell it, it's been an amazing investment," when we could have just been paying that in rent. But I do laugh that it's in a pretty dodgy street. And the other side of our building just applied recently to become a brothel. And I'm not joking. So this is when I talk about the curves of my life. But yes, I did win that VCAT case, and no, we don't share a driveway with a brothel. So this is our warehouse today. So it used to be all in my parents' study. And what people don't realise is, for a lot of our business, we are making like ticking time bombs. As soon as we make a bar, we really only want to hold it for a couple of weeks. So, and we have, millions of different products going through our hands every week. So to try and make sure that we don't order too much, we don't order too little, that we get it in and we get it out to you in in the freshest state possible. It's a really complicated part of our business, and I'm very proud that we do that very well. And I'm just saying, you don't necessarily always think about what a business really has to do to exceed and to perform really well. So what's our other secret ingredient? We're a food company. But, to have a healthy but good tasting product range, it's not rocket science, but we will not bring out something unless we actually enjoy eating it. And I think a lot of the time companies lose sight of that, and they'll do great TV ads and beautiful packaging, and then I pull it out and I put it on a white plate at work and I go, but didn't anyone actually look at what the end product looks like or tastes like? And so that's a very big part of my role and of I guess, the DNA of who we are. We have an approachable, friendly brand, and we work very hard to have lots of different touch points to, and it is genuine. We really do care, and that's something that has kind of developed over time. Customer obsessed. And when I say customer, I'm not talking about my buyer at Coles or Woolies, and I will happily say to them, we have one stakeholder, and that's you guys. And we are secretly watching you when you're in a supermarket. We're buying data to know what else you might buy if you bought Carman's products so that we can market to you through different channels. We're listening to your feedback on a daily basis. We've just opened in our new head office something called Truth Booths, where when people come in, they're able to sit down and we'll give you different things to try and just tell us the truth. What do you like? What don't you like? And that has really, I think, been a key part of our success. We have an enormous focus on strategy, and if anyone's interested, I'm very happy we email out for free the process and the template that we use, but kind of knowing where we want to be in 3 years and breaking that down. And every single person in our business has projects around how to get us to those strategic goals, and hiring amazing people and making sure that if we have someone that started that's not amazing, to move them on, so that the people that work for us are honestly the best. And you get that vibe when you come in. You realise how what it's like to have that bravery to make sure that you do have a really engaged workforce. So other little secret ingredients. We don't really have French champagne, know what to call it, but I like that photo. We have a genuinely family-friendly workplace, and everyone knows categorically family comes first. And I know that everyone will juggle around what needs to happen, but if you need to go off and watch something in the school assembly, you don't ask. I actually get grumpy when people ask. You just tell. I'm going to school, I'll be back later. And, when an employer cares about you as a person, you get so much more extra effort out of them because, they feel differently about the organisation. We do something called huddle. So at 10 a.m. every day, everyone who's in the office that day comes together, and we go around in a circle and just say if there's anything that you're working on that's interesting for other people, any supplier coming in to see you, and that is amazing. And so much happens because you'll be saying, look, I'm going to go and see this supplier this afternoon, and someone else will say, I've been trying to get them to return my call for days. Can you please pop in and see David and say, hey, we really need this bit of information? And it's like the pulse of the business. So everyone really knows what's going on because that happens, and it goes for about 10, 15 minutes. We have beautiful Susie, who I love with my entire heart. She's a local mum, and she comes in and she makes all the teas and coffees. She asks what you've bought for lunch. She heats it all up. She makes big salads, and she calls out at 12:30, lunch is ready. And everyone, you're not allowed to eat at your desk, and everyone comes together and we have lunch. And then we do the quiz out of the local paper. And I tell you this because building culture doesn't have to be expensive. These are little things that we do, but they're great little points where you touch and you have a laugh with your colleagues and you're talking more than just about work, and then you go back to your desk a little bit more refreshed. We have a car washer that comes in, beautiful Don, and he washes your car on a monthly cycle. You get your birthday day off. We have a dry cleaner that takes da-da-da-da, and whoop-de-doo, you work for a muesli company and you get free breakfast. And I guess what I've learned along the journey is leadership is about making others, hang on, I've just pressed too fast, making others better as a result of your presence. And I've worked in all the little jobs that I did with leaders who thought it was about whipping you and telling you exactly how to do it and treating you often like you're invisible. And my take is if you try and bring out the best in people, you'll find that rewards you back in spades. So customer service, as I've mentioned before, is a really big part of our DNA because from that information, we change our plates on our packaging almost every print run, which is unheard of in our industry. But if you guys all of a sudden, so for example, the latest trend is you don't want any sugar. So we work that out, we hear the information, and boom, we're changing all of our decals. And I'll show you some examples of that later on. But your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. And how can you actually not be grumpy when someone complains? How can you actually really listen and then really actually do something about it? So we test and measure any marketing strategy to give the biggest bang for buck. And that has been fantastic over the years. So one of my ideas that I came up with was writing to everyone in Australia with a surname Carman. And I sent them a muesli bar and said, oh, you know, you might enjoy this, which was so awesome until Doris Carman thought we were on the same sort of strain of the Carman's family tree, and she's been looking for a long-lost relatives. And these guys asked, instead of giving the little sugared almonds at their wedding, if they could give out Carman's bars, which is so cute. And I promise I looked exactly that manic on my wedding day too. And I was very fortunate to win the Telstra Australian Businesswoman of the Year, but I do think it's really important, you know, I entered it 16 years in a row. And so when you talk about resilience, you know, just you can't take no the first time, and you just keep plugging away. So, you know, people go, wow, that's great. And so for me, that sense of water off a duck's back, keep plugging away, keep trying, don't let it get you down. You know, you just have to really kind of take that on as, you know, it's not no forever, it's just no for now. So I say the best part of winning that was the calibre of my dinner party invitations skyrocketed very quickly. So the first one was the Prime Minister, was Julia Gillard, and she is awesome. And we had an amazing dinner. Then Prince Charles and Camilla, who I could barely understand. I wish I had more time. I'd love to tell you that story, but maybe get me at the Four Pillars stand later. With Princess Mary, our own royalty. I got to host a TV show that was mentioned earlier, which was super duper fun. And probably the highlight of my life was getting invited to Richard Branson's island, and I got to go to Necker and spend a week with him. That was amazing. And I guess the pinnacle of it all was being a question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which Australian brand was founded by entrepreneur Carolyn Creswell. And my husband goes, how come it couldn't have been Foster's, the brewery? How did I marry the girl that started the muesli bar company? Anyway, she did get the question right. So what have I learnt in this crazy 25-year journey? Can I go on about this anymore? But, you know, having the customer is the centre of every decision that you make. I love this quote. There's only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everyone from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. That's Sam Walton from Walmart. So good. So we have something called Carman's Kitchen Table. If anyone's interested, you know, I'd love you to join. And we have about 3,000 active people. And if we're going to bring out new packaging and we think, are we going to make it orange or we're going to make it red, we show you, or we're going to put roasted pistachios in it or roasted peanuts in it, and we show you different packs with different names. And from that, overnight, we generally can get about 1,000 people to come back. So we kind of don't do anything without asking the kitchen table now. And that means we get this live feedback of what a customer's really telling us. And that's been instrumental in the decisions and the products that we've released in the last few years. Having a great culture, and you know, I've talked about little things that we've done, but I think that eats strategy for breakfast, and really understanding, you know, that if you put energy into building a great place where people enjoy working, you will get so much more discretionary effort out of them, and that doesn't have to be expensive things. As I said before, strategy, and this is our roadmap, which we're happy to send out to you. I think great execution needs attention to detail, and this is something that I call myself the control freak, but I'm a bit, you know, I really try and make sure that if Carman's is ever going to execute something, you know, I'll send, you know, we're sending out a nice hamper, I'll send it to myself at home first to see what's going to arrive after Australia Posters has their mitts on it, and to try and always make sure that you're thinking, well, what is the end game going to end up being like? And to do all of this, as mentioned before, you know, I've got 4 young kids and do, you know, lots of stuff outside of Carman's. I would say that the secret is the art of the graceful no. You are only busy with what you say yes to. And we all have the same number of hours in the day, and how you can actually carve out the time to work on what's important. So, for example, I never do coffee. I just say, I'm sorry, I don't do coffee, but I drive to work for half an hour after I drop my kids to school. So I'm very happy to schedule that time, and I put it in my diary, and I'll say I'll ring you, you know, at 10 to 9, and I do that as a phone call in drive time. So I'm just saying, if you think about things, you don't have to do something because someone's asked you. For me, the little business circle of success is hiring great people and really being constantly evolving. Just because someone was great 5 years ago doesn't mean they're necessarily still the right person in that role, or they might need more skills. Building a great culture, having great strategy, and really thinking about where you want to be and what you need to do to get there, executing really well, and then just going around and thinking about those things. And if you've done those things, I find that that's what keeps turning your business, moving you forward. This is not my children. But you never know when you're going to have a very bad day. And I had a phone call a few years ago from one of the big supermarket chains that the entire Carman's range was being deleted that moment. And it was the most soul-destroying, shocking phone call I could have ever received. And I felt it was super unfair. And that night I wallowed in misery. My husband did not know what to do with me. And then the next morning I woke up and I said, it is what it is. This has happened. And how do you get yourself out of living in that really unfair, negative vibe to saying, well, what can I do about it now? So I told everyone that rang us to ring them, and and I worked very hard at turning this around, and it took me 18 months, but we did get back on track. But I don't want you to think that I'm standing here that lots of bad stuff hasn't happened. What I'd say, it's how you react to it and how you pick yourself up, dust yourself off to say, okay, I now have to change tack, but this is now what I'm going to do in the new situation that I'm in. So from that, I've become kind of data obsessed. So knowing the sales figures that go through Coles and Woolies every week and focusing both on top and bottom line. And I think that you can sometimes just feel that you just do one or the other. And then also, how do you get your customers? What are you doing that's working and what are you doing that's not, and constantly assessing that. So I think the most dangerous phrase is, we've always done it this way. And whenever anyone new starts, that start off by saying, just because we've done something a certain way, please come in here with fresh eyes, please see, because you can only really have those super fresh eyes for about 3 months, and then I think you get a bit indoctrinated. So just always be challenging the status quo and how can we change and do things better. So I guess what I've learned about life, this is all a bit embarrassing, but for me, to have a reasonably tidy desk, a reasonably tidy handbag / briefcase and a cleanish car means I sort of feel I can approach the world. And that's my ground zero. So when things get a bit out of control, I literally just have to dump my handbag upside down on my desk, sort myself out, get my papers in the right piles, and I go, okay, I can now be at, anyway, like I said, that's a bit embarrassing. Glove your ideas. So when something pops into your head, I am mad for Siri. So when I'm driving, I'll say, Siri, email myself, whatever the message might be, or Siri, remind me when I leave this location to call mum. So when I hop in the car, a minute later, Siri pops up, ring your mum. Because sometimes what's in your head you don't do it. So I would encourage you to try and use Siri as well as you can, because I found that's been great for me, to prioritise all the things on your to-do list and cross things off that you don't have to do everything on it. What do you really need to do? And sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish in this. If someone asked you for $20, you'd say no, but if someone asked you for 20 minutes, you feel obliged, you have to say yes. And I think protecting your time to build your business is sometimes what you need to do to move forward. Watch less TV, get an extra hour's sleep. I don't really set my alarm to go to bed, but I know that I need 8 hours sleep, and I'm really conscious that that is not the thing to steal from in your life, to think that you'll move forward. Be appreciative of those that help you, and sometimes the thing that's holding you back is all in your head. So finishing off with some quotes that I love. Well, fake it until you make it. It is what it is. One of my all-time favourites. Please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. And I have to say, I'm very proud of how I do it. And that's taken me a long time, but I think that's something that I can hand on my heart say, I've kind of got there after 25 years. So I do lots of things. I'm very blessed to have some opportunities outside of Carman's to help people that perhaps have been a bit less fortunate than me. But I'd say do what you can when you can. In whatever situation you're in, don't sit there when a racist joke is being said, or, I had to, anyway, something happened yesterday where you just have to stand up and do what you can when you can. So in sort of finishing up, when I won Telstra, they said, what would I like to do with my newfound power? And I'll just hop on my soapbox for 30 seconds. At the moment in Australia, we're spending $38 billion a year educating women. They do really well at school, they do really well at uni, they get great jobs in the workforce, and then all of a sudden we have this notion that you've had a child so you can't work, or you're poor children. I can tell you, no one needs to feel sorry for my children. We never question a man can work full time and be a great father, so why do we question a woman can't do the same? And I'm just about equality and about choice and about the stereotypes that I think that we need to shake up a bit. So grab life by the horns. And if anyone ever tells you your dreams are silly, remember there is a happy, proud millionaire walking around who invented the pool noodle. So thanks very much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
The pool noodle. Oh, what a fantastic, inspiring, honest, vulnerable, beautiful speech. Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing that with us.